Are you sharing?
Okay. Now is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I saw that the documentation is very clear, so I was trying to make some slides, then saw that if we go through the documentation and follow it, then it will be better for us to understand. So still I tried to have some basics written here. So when we deploy this .NET Core web application, we have two hosting models. So one is in process and another is out of process. So before ASP.NET Core version 2.2, we had only one process that was out of process, and after that we had a new one that is in process hosting model. So now we will have a deep look into it. Sorry, can you hear me clearly? Hello?
Yes, we can hear.
I think there is some background noise.
Yeah, it's Azan.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Sorry about this. So,
Can everyone mute? Except
no,
Samantha.
it's from my side. It's the
Okay.
Azan. It will take about 5 minutes to complete it. So I have
Yeah.
more control over it.
Sure.
Sure. Should we continue or wait for some minutes? Are you okay? Are you listening to me?
I kind of like the background noise. I think you should continue. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we are hardly able to hear you, Samantha.
Okay. So I guess sorry about this. I'll wait for some time. So let me
Sure.
Okay. Meanwhile, maybe we can introduce ourselves if anybody is new here.
Also, definitely,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that in the meanwhile, we can recall the previous session.
Yeah, the
As I
previous.
haven't attended that yet,
Mm-hmm.
so I would prefer to, if someone had uh, a kind of recording or something, they can just brief me or everyone, like
Yes.
whatever we have discussed or covered
So
in the last session.
last week, Cherry presented exception handling, and it is a recorded session. You can always go to the YouTube to watch it again. So with exception handling, so who was there last week? Anybody wants to give a summary of your understanding? The link. Okay, I can give you a link here.
Yeah, Thomas just posted that. Thomas, we are not actually looking for the link, but I'm looking for just a brief introduction about that whatever we have covered in the last session, so that in the meantime, till Samantha is okay to present, we can discuss the last session, whatever we have covered, just on a higher level.
I think she discussed doing the exception handling in the middleware. And then there were different types of exceptions you can throw and catch. That's what I remembered from last week. What about you?
So Daphne, as I was discussing with you regarding that framework level, regarding on
Mm-hmm.
a framework level,
Mm-hmm.
so like if I want to log the exceptions, like all the warnings or the errors or debugging uh, things or everything basically on a
Mm-hmm.
trace level, if I would say,
Mm-hmm.
in a separate file,
Yeah.
which basically we refer to as error logging.
Yeah.
uh, so did we cover the same, exactly same in the last session, or we are yet to cover that?
We
I
were
think we
we
haven't
was
covered that particular thing.
That's right. We were supposed to cover that last week, but we ran out of time, so we didn't cover the logging part. Um, uh, so you are particularly interested in that part, am I right?
Uh, yeah, I was actually creating a kind of framework, and I hope that will help me a kind of
Mm.
somewhere
Uh,
basically.
when I am this is Joanne. When I present in 2 weeks, I can show you the .NET Core API that I wrote does logging like that, and it does extensive logging and error handling so that I know everything that happens in the system. And I can show you how I do it. I use something called Serilog, Serilog, Serilog,
Okay.
and it's very popular for it's a third party, but almost, it's very, very popular to use. Makes logging just a little bit easier.
What's that?
Sure, John. I'm sorry if someone.
Oh, what
What
was the question?
what stack are you using, Joanne? Like UI and
I
yeah.
I use well, my API access, it uses Entity Framework and SQL Server, and my front end, I have a WPF application that runs on 5 and I have a Xamarin Forms application, which is a mobile application on Android and iOS.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you use Serilog as a logging component, like a
It's
NuGet package.
Yes, it is, and it's if you look it up online, it's very popular. It's I think it's the most popular logging third-party logging library
Yeah.
that's used in a .NET Core.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure, John. I'll take a look on it once this is done.
What
Samantha,
about
are you
the
good to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. So, should I start? So
Sure.
you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, we can.
And can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I understood.
So what I was saying is that when we are about to deploy our ASP.NET Core project, we have two different hosting models. One is in-process hosting and another is out-of-process, right? So in the previous ASP.NET Core version, previous I mean that before 2.2, we had only one hosting method, that was the out of process. Now we are introduced with the in process hosting model. So now the default hosting method is the in process hosting method. Sorry, model. So if we see that if it is the default hosting model, we can see it from here. If we right click here and go to the properties, and if we go to the debug and scroll a little down, we'll see that the hosting model default is in process. We can change from here the out of process hosting model, right? So how does this in-process hosting model works, and how does the out-of-process hosting model work? We will get to know it a little later. So first we need to know how to configure this and how we can change this. So for that, if we close it and by default, if we run it, we know that we have the default hosting model is the in-process hosting model. So when we have this uh, program, we have the main method. It has this create host builder. It calls the create default builder. Here we have the default settings configured here. So if we want to change the configuration, then we have to go to the edit file. So we can go from here. So edit project file. We have this. We need to change it out of process hosting model. If we want to change the out of process, we can change from the from here. And another way is we can change it from by adding a line here. That is this line. This line. If we add this line in process, it's the default line. If we do not use this line, it will still be the same. If we use out of process instead, it will still be the same. It will still not be the same. I'm sorry about this. So I should go thoroughly, I guess. So first they are saying that when we run an application, it looks for the main method that we have is here. So here we have the create host builder, and it calls this default configuration. So if we need to confirm this, we can change the startup class here. We can, if we change this configuration method, we will that is being called from the main method. We can be able to see what is going on. So instead, we are changing this, and we will we write, if we write this, we will get to know that which process is being called. So I'm just replacing it with this. And we need to add a line if we need to make this code work. That is this. We need to use this configuration. If we build this application, then we will be able to see the process name. That is because we are getting the kind process name. So in process in process hosting, the process name is W3. It is the server name that's showing here. So if we change here, as we have said that, if we add the line that's written, if we change the line to the ASP.NET Core hosting model, the tag was this, ASP.NET Core hosting model, and we close this tag. And if we write here out of process, it will not be the same. We see, if we see. So the default was in process. So previously we saw that we had the IIS Express server. So sorry, it's out of process, I guess. OS. So the process name is demo app. Now where this demo app is coming from? Now we need to know about the launch app settings file. Hello?
Samantha,
Yes? Hello?
can we have a quick question here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so as we were discussing about in process and out process, so this is, I think, the default configuration file.
Yes.
Just in front of us. Okay. So basically, like when we talk about in process, so I believe there should not be there won't be a separate tag that names like The out process, we have a separate tag mentioned here. Uh,
So it means that if we write here in process, then we will be seeing the IIS Express. So if we do not include this line, it will still be the same.
yeah, exactly. Because like that is by default, so we don't
Yeah,
need to include it.
yeah,
But whenever we are talking about out process, so we need to explicitly mention it.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Okay. So what is IIS? What is II Express? The IIS Express is a lightweight self-contained version of IIS. It is optimized for web application development. So the most important point that we need to remember is that IIS Express only in development. It's not for the production. In production, we generally use IIS. So we will get to know this about in later. So II in process hosting is faster than out of process hosting. That is because out of process hosting uses a kernel server instead of the IIS Express. So kernel server, there is another Kestrel server. Kestrel server can be used with a combination of a proxy server. So that makes it a little bit slower. So in .NET Core, we have two kind of web server. One is the internal web server and another is the external web server. In the internal web server, we have the Kestrel web server, and the external web server, we have the IIS in Nginx and the Apache web server. So in process hosting model, there is only one web server, that is IIS, and in in process hosting model, we do not have the performance penalty since we are not having the proxy server here. So when you might be wondering when we should use out of process hosting model and when we should use in process hosting model. When we are hosting a new application, then we should go for the in-process hosting model. And if we have some security issues and we need some load balancing, then we should go for the out-of-process hosting model. So if we go deeper, then we can see here that before asking the question, we were about to go to the launch settings app that we will be able to find. Sorry, here. So in the launch settings file, we can see that there is three portions, that is IIS settings and two profiles. This is the IIS Express and it is for the demo application. This one is for the kernel server, and the previous one is for the IIS Express. So so there we can see that we can change the port number from here, and we can change some commands from here. The command we can use is that IIS Express project, and there is another one. So when we create a project, the default one is the in-process hosting model. So since we have this portion is for the IIS Express and this portion is from the Kestrel web server. So as Priyanka has said earlier, the Kestrel is a web server which supports us the cross-platform web server. So we need to remember that the command name IIS Express is going to be used here if we run the ASP.NET Core application. And we can change it to the project and IIS. The value can be these three: IIS Express, IIS, and Project. So we can get to know when this when which server is working. So there is a table of combination we can see here. That is that if the launch settings file, if we go there, we will be able to see some uh, combination that when we will be seeing which server. So if we go here, we can see that if we use this command name project, and if the hosting method is ignored, we will be using this Kestrel web server. If we are using the IIS Express and the hosting model is in process, then the web server will be IIS Express. If the command name is IIS Express and the hosting model is out of process, then in internal web server we can use Kestrel web server, and the external web server we can use the IIS Express web server. And here is IIS Express. If we use the in process, then we will only be able to use IIS Express. So if you go and configure it, we will be able to see this. So you can do all this, and still if you have confusion, you can ask us. So when, how, and how we can use the out of process hosting. So here we have we have shown that from if we go to the properties, sorry, if we go to the project file, we can change it from here. If we we can change it from here if we write out of process, and we can also change from here. So there is two ways. So as we have changed previously, so the running process is out of process. So we haven't run the application again. We once we have removed the file. So that is why it's still holding the out of process. So we can we are choosing the default hosting model. So when and how we can use the out of process hosting model. So here we can see that the in process hosting model, we are receiving the request from the client, HTTP request from the client, and it goes to the IIS server. And we can use our out of process hosting model in two ways. One is the Kestrel web server, and another is a web server, that is the internal web server, and then the external web server, that is IIS, Apache, and NGMX. So there is two ways we can use the Kestrel web server. One is the when is in this way out of process, and another is when if we include an intermediate proxy server. So you might be wondering, if we have this Kestrel server can be directly connected to this instead of the proxy server, then why do we need the in process hosting model? Then why we are introduced with this in process hosting model? So that is the why, because there are some security problems, and we cannot change the port number in Kestrel server. So in process hosting model, we can change the port number from here. Non settings file, we can change the port number. If we change here, then the application port number we run will be changed. So that is why the shared port number can we can share the port number. So again, we have this. We can still use the Kestrel web server by command. If you then we can we have to run it through the command prompt. So for this reason, I go to the folder where it is where the project is, and if we run the command prompt here, and if we want to run the application, then .NET. So if we run this, we can see the list of the commands we can run through this in this application. So we want to run the application. If we want to run the application, then we have to write the .NET run. So now, if we go to this URL, we will be seeing our demo app. It's connected to the Castrol server. As we have told you earlier that in launch, this part is for the Castrol web server. So we can see that this is actually running the Castrol web server. So and the port number, this and this can be shown in the command prompt. So they're listening to these port numbers from here. So now we have seen that there is another way, that is when we can use Castrol server along with a reverse proxy server. Then the reverse proxy server will receive the incoming HTTP request from the client and then forwards the request to the Castrol server for processing. So once the Castrol server processes that request, then it sends the response back to the reverse proxy server. Then it sends the response back to the requested client over the internet, and we can see that from this diagram. So reverse proxy server is a good way to is a way we can use it for the load balancing. If we have a lot of traffic in our application, then we should go for this way. So this was the line they mentioned, that if we include this line here include this line in this. Hello?
So Samantha, basically in Castrol means whenever we are configuring this out of process, basically we will be needing two servers, right? One is Castrol and one is the proxy server, I believe.
No, there are two ways to use this Castrol server. Once we can directly use it, but it's almost the same as the in-process hosting model. So then this is why we are introduced with the in-process hosting model, right? If you see the figure here, out of process hosting and in-process hosting, we have the same request handling from the client, right? It's the difference is that it is using the IIS server and this one is using the Castrol server.
Yeah.
So this is actually helpful for if you want to use the reverse proxy server. So that is required when you have a lot of traffic in your application.
Cool.
Okay. So anybody has other questions? If you have any other question, then please ask.
What I understand is that out of process gives you more options. Like in process, you have to have IIS. If you don't run on Windows, you might not even have IIS in that environment. Then out of process is your only option. If you have IIS, then running in process faster. You don't have to jump to another app, and so it's more it's faster if you have IIS and do in process.
Yeah, in process is faster, and when if you want to, mostly we use the in process since it's the default configuration, but we can still use out of process. That is when we that is required when we want to use the reverse proxy server. So the traffic is being maintained by that. Are you still in confusion?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can still add a reverse proxy even though you do in process on IIS. You can add a reverse proxy to both in process and out of process. Is that correct?
No, we cannot add a reverse proxy in process. We can only add it in the out of process.
Got it.
Okay.
I use in process in mine. I use IIS, and it seems to be very fast and work very well. Of course, all of my machines have Windows, so that made the most sense.
Okay. So then, if we continue, we have the app settings.json file here. So we can do some configurations here. If we want to add some more configuration and change our configuration, then we can go here. If we want to, it's not for the local server, it is for the production. If you want to change anything in the production then configuration, then we will go to the app settings.json file, and there are some dependencies here, so that will be covered by Joanne in the upcoming session, I guess. So if we copy this and paste this, sorry, if we need to first add this line here, that's the default, some configuration we want to add by ourselves. And then if we go to the startup file and add this, so then if we run it, we will be able to see our custom key. Sorry, we didn't close it, so it had some problems. So the type namespace startup could not be found. You're missing. So we are missing something here. So the code they're providing has some problems. That's it. So it has some, I guess, I guess I have used a comma here, right? I had this here. So it's in the launch settings file. I didn't change anything. So here is it. So it's the startup. So it's the type startup will not be found or missing assembly.
It looks like there's a compiler error in your startup class, and that's why it doesn't recognize the startup class. I don't know what the error is in there, but something's not right in there.
Okay, so
Or maybe
guess
you need to save it. I don't know.
maybe so. We cannot understand the startup process. I started
It
so
could
just
be a
a page.
namespace. Maybe you can click on the first suggestion.
there is an exception here. I'm not really understanding it because I'm not really.
Can you go back?
I just.
Sorry,
Okay.
can you go back to your code on start? Can you show startup?
Yeah.
I think your namespaces are different. That's why it cannot see this class. So this one is first core web application, and in program you have demo app.
Sorry. Sorry. Demo app. I think now it will be working, right? I didn't notice it. Thank you, Daphne. So now it has another error. I don't know what is going on. So
Did you change startup to iStartup? Maybe just
yeah,
Yeah,
change the way.
basic.
yeah. So it's showing the my custom key value coming from the app settings. So in production, if we want to have different configurations, then we can do this. So now we need to know actually what we have done in there. It's actually something related to the dependency injection that we haven't covered yet, and Joanne will cover in future. She said that uh, that I could not. Uh, we will not be, I guess, go deeper into this. So the startup in the startup class here, what we have done is we have this we have this uh, we have this private variable and uh, all here, and then we are using a dependency injection here. So uh, first we created this I configuration, and then we have this constructor dependency injection. We injected the I configuration object within the private variable and private variable. Then we are accessing the configuration variable, my custom key using the I configuration here. Here it is. So if we set up our ASP.NET Core hosting model value to the in process, then the application project is will be showing us the value we are seeing when we run the application, as we have seen that it is coming from here. Sorry, it's coming from the app JSON. That is my custom key value. And then we have our the static files. As we know, we can have the static files um, such as image. If we copy an image from my desktop, that's keyboard copy, and then if we paste it here in the www root folder, it's for our static folder. We can paste all the images here. We can access the images from here. If we run the application and go to the keyboard.jpg, then we will be able to see that sorry, uh, uh, can see the keyboard. Go to the keyboard.jpg. We will be able. We are not going. Uh, we are not able to see the file. It's in there. So we need to handle some middleware for that. So it's still not accessible because of the middleware that has been covered by Daphne or the middleware topic. So I guess I think today I want to end my session here. So if you have any question regarding in process and out of process, you can ask too. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous at this moment because it's my first time I'm presenting this and I'm not really that experienced, but I was trying to volunteer. I hope I did not bore you guys. So, hello.
No
I
problem,
think you did
Samantha. It's
great.
really a very good session.
Yeah, I think you did
Thank
You
great.
did great, really.
Thank you.
No worries. We didn't even know that you were nervous. You sounded very clear.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
we didn't feel that you are nervous.
um, thank you. But I'm not really experienced, and all this server thing is really new to me. So I told Priyanka that I want to volunteer up, and Priyanka told me that you can take to she told me that you can have this session. Then I said okay, fine. Then I had some research, and now I'm participating in that. And you guys
In
are
fact,
really nice.
I would say you can again brush up this particular session, and in the later phases, we can have it again, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You can be
Because like,
experienced, but you still don't know about the new stuff. Like .NET Core is pretty new, and even the new version of .NET Core, it's new stuff all the time.
I'm using, I just wrote a .NET Core 3.1 app, and I still don't know everything about it. I'm still learning. I mean, it works, but there's things I don't understand about what it's doing. So there's
Yeah.
a lot to understand.
I think I could say the same with .NET Framework as well. There's so much
Uh,
magic going on. Unless you go really deep inside,
Yes.
you don't really
Mhm.
know what you're doing other than copy and pasting the code.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of it. A lot of it works really nicely, and you don't really have to understand it very deeply. And so, like, I'm using in-process hosting, but until today, I didn't even know what in-process hosting was. So I learned today that that's what I'm using, even though I didn't really know the terminology.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think same here. Same here. It's like I use all these things just because it's auto generated by default. And most of the time, you don't really need to worry about any of this. But there would be times if, for example, you are launching a bigger application that talks to a lot of different services uh, in production that you may need to use out of process uh, this setting. But most of the time for small projects, if you're starting out, you don't need to worry. You can just use the by default one. But yeah,
So for intro,
sorry, I just want to say I'm glad we had this session so that in the future, if we do come across this, then we know what it is about, and then we can study some more if we want to uh, be clear about what it is, right? Yeah, Thomas, you were saying?
Samantha, so I just shared two links over in the chat, basically. That would, I believe, that would cover the specific scenario, like showing the image file or accessing the image file in .NET Core. If you want, you can check that particular links. Hope that will help you.
Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah, that's a very good point too, Thomas. So if we're not using Windows, then we need to use um, an additional server. So our process would make more sense. Cool. So
Why?
do we have anything else we want to discuss today? Because we still have maybe 10 minutes.
Anybody using Angular on .NET Core?
Actually, Hong Tat uses Angular on .NET Core. So he's a very good person to go to if you want any advice there.
Great.
I've never used
Um,
Angular before.
No, I was told by my boss at work to use Angular. I was using a traditional suicide, MVC, ASP.NET stack. And he kind of like threw me in under the bus with having to learn Angular. So now I'm working evenings and weekends. So I appreciate your group and all these because that matched perfect Angular on .NET Core. I have some very specific questions regarding deployment to IIS. I won't bore people.
Yeah,
I'll
you
probably
can
take it offline.
you can reach out to Hong Tat. I'm sure he'll be happy to share with you. And he did mention he wanted to cover Angular deployment, but I guess Angular itself is such a big topic. I don't think he can cover everything in 1 or 2 sessions. So
How do I
yeah,
get in
Thomas,
contact?
do reach out to
I was
him.
just going to say, I don't,
Hmm. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I don't know anything about Angular, but I do know about IIS deployment. If you want to reach out to me about that.
Yeah. What's your contacts? If you can, do you have a LinkedIn or something?
Yeah, I think I
I think
do.
Joanne is
I
in
don't
the
use it.
same. I think Joanne is in the same WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Yes, I'm in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Thomas just joined yesterday, so you may be able to.
Because I have my .NET Core API deployed with IIS on a local server. I tried to use the Microsoft, online server, but it didn't work well with me. We didn't want to use that, so I'm using IIS just on a local server to deploy my .NET Core application.
Yeah. Yeah. The online you're talking about Azure. You were thinking about Azure for.
Right. I was going to use Azure, but it costs money, and if I use it on the local server, we don't have to pay those fees.
Yes.
And it works fine on the local server. We have someone who maintains the server. It's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. So that was a good option.
Yeah. You have everything .NET there in your stack, or everything Microsoft. Yeah.
Yes, but my WPF application is Net Framework. It's not .NET Core, because when I started the WPF application, .NET Core for WPF was very new, and I was a little bit leery about using it, so I just used .NET Framework, but it works fine.
Yeah, we're using .NET Core 3.1 with the Angular template. It'll create a API sample in .NET Core and a Angular client in Angular 9, I think. However, when you start deploying it to IIS, you run into some issues with routing, and if there's an error, it'll go go back to the default routing, and you won't see the error message. So, yeah.
Yeah, I need to learn more about Angular. I need to get in on those sessions. I haven't been able to attend all the sessions because I've been busy with work trying to fix these bugs.
Yeah, well, congratulations with your production deployment there. It sounds like a really interesting system. You should do a demo one day.
Yeah, that I wanted to include that with my when I do my session, if it's okay, just show. Well, I will show the concepts by I will explain the concepts using my system a little bit so you can see what I mean. I think that will be a good way to present the topic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Any other things we want to discuss before we finish? No? Otherwise, thank you so much, Samantha. You did a great job. I hope you will
Thank you.
find the courage to do
Yeah,
another session again.
yeah, it's really a great job, and I think you should be doing this one or two times more just to be confident,
Yeah.
and you would be, you will be.
Who is doing it next week? Who is our presenter next week?
I think John.
No, I'm presenting in 2
I
weeks.
think Priyanka.
Oh, okay.
I think next will be on the exception handling again.
Exception
The
page
remaining topics.
by Priyanka next week, um, and MVC and MVC setup. So that's Priyanka,
Oh yeah,
and then Joanne the
yeah.
week after. All right.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're still looking
Thank you.
for volunteers for the Angular study group. So feel free to volunteer yourself if you want.
Is
Okay.
that a question to me?
Well, if you want to.
Actually, I'm not that involved in this .NET for the right now.
Mhm,
I'm mostly involved in automation, like Selenium automation and Java side.
mhm,
So there is like one requirement we had automate things using .NET Core
mhm,
and ASP.NET. So that's why I was like quite learning this.
mhm. It's okay, no pressure. If only if you want to. Okay.
Sure. Means I can cover the generic topics like exception handling or basic like whatever we feel like it is common on Java side or basically on just the programming level.
Yeah.
I can cover those topics. But it is like if it is very specific to ASP.NET or core side, then it would be some person who is already aware about these things.
Mm, okay, no worries. All right, I guess we will end our sessions here today. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you,
Samantha.
Daphne.
Really great session.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, and don't feel down.